What's going on, guys? So I'm here with my good friend Stacey, who is one of my newer friends. This year when I moved to Miami, met him through a good friend named Jamie, and we're just gonna have a rooftop conversation about life. Because one thing that I love about Stacey is you're a very great conversationalist. Like honestly, every time we hang out, you're just always just full of conversation and
Yeah,
full of
man.
life. So
Yeah,
I thought it'd be
likewise.
great to shoot a video here and just kind of see where the conversation flows. So
100%. Let's
tell
do it, man.
people, a little about yourself, where you're from.
What's up, you guys? My name's Stacey Ervin Jr. I've been a professional gymnast, collegiate gymnast, national champion. I've wrestled in WWE NXT. I'm currently an online fitness trainer, helping people transform their physiques, mindsets, their bodies, lifestyles, and content creator. And like he said, Eric just told you, I can talk. So that's what we're gonna do here today, and hopefully, shed some light and gain some value here.
There you go. Gain
Yeah.
some insights. I like
Yeah,
it. So,
yeah.
so one thing I was talking about with Stacey before was one of my favorite interview questions to ask anyone is, what's the difference between strategy and tactics? And try to define that on your own.
Mhm.
And he was like, let me try to answer that. So let's hear it.
Yeah, I had to jump into that one because it's something that I had been wrestling with or developing lately in my own life. And so when Eric asked me this question, it really piqued my interest to digest it. I was like, I have to answer this. Because he wasn't challenging me to answer it. He was just giving me what the prompt was. And I felt compelled to answer it for my own clarity on the subject too. And what it came down to was, it feels to me that tactics are more directly implemented things, action-oriented tasks that you approach and execute. Like those are the tactics. And then strategy being the more overarching plan or end game of a particular route of action, right?
Mhm.
So it's as if the tactics are what are used to accomplish the strategy.
Yeah.
Both are obviously extremely important, but it's about getting what you need from both execution on the vision setting and then execution on the tasks themselves.
Yeah. And two things I like. First thing is, you wrestled with it. Of course you did. You're in the WWE.
Yeah, I did, didn't I?
And then the second thing is that I asked you if you think that you had a proclivity towards one or the other, meaning that you had a default mode of being more tactical or being more strategic with anything in your life, whether that's business, because that's what we were talking about, or just your life.
Right. And for me, I felt like the needle tilted more towards tactical structure, right? Strategy is more it's more fluid for me. Like I don't feel as if I grasp strategy. Admittedly, I don't feel like I grasp it as easily, and so I focus more towards tactics.
Yeah.
But again, doing things to build out strategy or delegate to strategize actionable things that I can use to achieve my goals. So I'll get the work done for sure. But having someone assist me in building an overarching strategy certainly is something that I employ, and it helps tremendously.
Yeah, and that was another thing we were talking about, is that when, as a content creator, it can be really exhausting, like just trying to get all this content out there and tactically executing it day after day. And you almost need to create space for yourself when you are showing emotional vulnerability, when you're realizing, okay, is this piece gonna hit or not? And I think for me, one of the things that I try to do is just make space for those times where I'm like, all right, I'm going to set time aside, like today, where I was like, all right, we're going to film content all day. I mentally prepared for it because I knew that it was going to be draining at the end of it, right? And so,
taxing, yes, and
because
definitely.
it's just taxing on your body. But I'm curious, like, you always help your clients out with mindset things too, even though you're a big fitness guy. Like, what are some of the things that you do when maybe you're doing anything that's really creatively taxing on you?
Well, first I have to acknowledge that creativity is an expenditure. Because if you ignore that fact, you're just going to be spinning your wheels thinking, why do I feel so stuck or uninspired? Well, you've had a big outpouring of energies that aren't necessarily just physical. So understanding, giving yourself grace for that creative output,
Yeah.
but then giving yourself margin to allow that creative energy to be replenished, giving yourself margin to have time to digest what you've already created.
Yeah.
And then that gives you, again, having that margin allows you to refuel yourself, refill your cup, and be intentional with that. And it doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out process all the time. Sometimes it takes longer than others.
Yeah.
That's natural. But I think it's important to be cognizant of that so you can start to find ways to minimize that recovery time, just as you would physically, right? Like you don't want to go so hard in the gym that you're completely crushed and sore that you miss the next 3 days.
Yeah.
You ideally find ways to progress a little bit each day, but you find that margin, a healthy level of margin to give yourself enough rest that you can continue to work without burning yourself out entirely.
Yeah. I mean, that comes up with a whole other topic because I think that I am still a recovering workaholic, I always say. I'm always honest about that because
I can see that.
I just always
You're a hard
want
worker, man.
to do things. Like even when I'm just trying to chill, I need to do something, right? I'm listening to a podcast while I'm doing my laundry, right? Or I'm like, oh, I have absolutely nothing planned the next day, but I really want to make sure I get something done.
Right.
And I think the first step for me was acknowledging that, because if you don't acknowledge it, then you're just pushing it away.
Yeah.
And then trying to do things that replenish you, just like how you said for fitness, like that relaxation is productive.
Yeah.
I think was something that was really difficult for me to accept, maybe even just as short as a year ago. And so, I mean, I don't know if you fall into the category of a workaholic like me, but I'm interested to know if that's the case.
You know, I certainly feel like I am. I too have felt that restlessness when I haven't had something necessarily planned, but I still want to get something done. And sometimes that something that needs to be done is rest. Sometimes that creative drive gets in your way of allowing yourself to rest. And not resting lazily, but resting with intention. Using rest as part of the process. You can create so much from that point of rest.
Yeah.
But if you're resting restlessly, thinking, oh no, I should be doing something else. I should be doing something else. I could have done this yesterday. I could do this tomorrow. I should be making sure that well then that's not margin.
Yeah.
That's still taking up bandwidth.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I'm also learning to identify and implement more, are those times when I'm feeling restless in my rest versus allowing myself to use the rest and understand that that is part of the process.
Yeah. I like that a lot because there's so many times where I've just tried to relax and it's just, I don't allow myself that. And so giving yourself that intention that I'm going to spend this time and dedicate this time to this thing, it's just like how you dedicate any kind of time. Like, all right, I'm going to work out now, or I'm going to work on my business now, or I'm going to spend time with my family or my friends. Like being just aware of the present moment and acknowledging it and then setting an intention and going forward, I think is super important.
Big time.
So,
and I'm a big proponent of meditation and mindfulness and understanding the inner machinations of your mind.
milk drop.
Making sure that if they're an enigma to anybody else, at least they're not to you, you know? And so it's challenging because I'm aware of that, but I don't always act upon it, you know? And that is something that, again, I have to look inwardly and be like, hey, all right, you need to chill, you know? And I said this the other day to my VIP clients. It's something that's resonated with me for a long time. Like I'm an avid reader as well. And knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Like a battery is power. a battery by itself, if I had a battery in my hand, it isn't going to be generating much power.
Okay.
It's the application of that battery into something that can use its power that makes the battery powerful. And the same is true with knowledge. You can obtain all the knowledge you want, but if you never implement it, if you never put it into practice in a situation that calls for that specific knowledge, well, then that power remains dormant.
Yeah, it's just wasted potential.
It's wasted potential.
Here's an interesting thought. Has there ever been a point in your life where you felt like you had wasted potential in yourself?
Yeah, certainly.
Really?
Certainly. But I reframe it also.
Okay.
So I can continue to move forward from that situation. Because
there's a plane flying by.
for plane.
Give us 1 second. We hope you're enjoying the podcast.
Right. In times where I feel I've had wasted potential,
Yeah.
I have to reframe that. Because ultimately, if I feel like I have wasted potential, that is simply the story that I've told myself about what was supposed to happen.
That's interesting.
So I have to reframe that and understand, like, first of all, I'm still here.
Yeah.
So there's still potential for a lot of great things to happen. However, if I ruminate on the fact that, oh, I could have done better here, I should have done this, X, Y, Z, that's not going to help me push forward, and that's going to actually cause me to waste more potential, right?
Wow. So yeah, you're almost looking at that negativity and not letting it control you.
Exactly.
Wow.
You got to control what you can control.
Yeah.
And that the story that you tell yourself about your life, your experiences, is under your control and your control only.
Yeah.
You know, it can be influenced by other people, what they say to you, what they say about you, to you, who they tell you you are.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the decision is yours to dictate your story for yourself, and that reframing process empowers you to create within your life what you desire to create, not what you feel someone else thinks you should do, not what you think someone else thinks you think you should do.
Yeah.
It's about establishing a story for yourself where you are the main character of your life, as you always will be.
Yeah.
And you're empowering yourself by understanding that what lies ahead is greater than what has already passed.
Yeah. I think for me, and if you're comfortable, I'd love to hear from you. For me, what my wasted potential was not starting this business and not putting out content and not speaking what's been in my head. Like, there were so many times in my life where I'd be in a group of friends and I'd have these ideas and have these, thoughts and statements, and I would just refrain from them because of a fear of not being accepted, of like, hey, like, do you guys ever have anxiety? Like, do you guys ever struggle with mental health or something like that? And I think that wasted potential to then not start this business when I could have back in 2016 when I had the original idea. I waited till 2018, and those 2 years really ate away at me. And it wasn't until I was like, look, what else am I going to do with my life? Like, honestly, like, okay, working out all these things.
The change process is not very often linear. And what that means for our potential, wasted or actualized, also means that you have to give yourself grace for the time that you may feel you have wasted. Why is that? Well, first of all, the time's already gone. Secondarily, maybe that time was actually the preparation for the action to be taken. You're only going to change people only change for two reasons: pain or reward.
Yeah.
That's it. And so you got to the point where the pain got great enough that you wanted to take action.
Yeah.
The only other option would have been that the reward was so clearly visible in your mind that you took action anyway, right? And so I've had that same feeling when I've felt like I've wasted some time in a pursuit that I could have been approaching.
Yeah.
And hell, I'll still probably feel this way about something that develops in my life later on. But again, reframing that to understand, like, okay, what did I learn in that season of preparation and hesitation and stalling that I actually now apply.
Yeah.
And even in your case too, right? Like
Yeah.
you're teaching people how to take these steps so they don't have to experience such pain in order to make that change.
Yeah.
You paint the reward so clearly for them that they understand, okay, this is why I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
And so maybe it wasn't wasted time. Maybe that is your testimony that you've experienced the pain so they don't have to.
Yeah.
And
yeah, the prep time. I
Yeah.
think that's really key.
Yeah.
Like, I was showing a video the first time I took content of myself, and I was just like, this is the first time I'm taking a video of myself for the first time. And I was like blinking 15 times in 5 seconds. And it's just like, I think that preparation of just being comfortable in front of the camera
Yeah.
is an example of that. Like, I don't know who I'd be and what I'd talk about maybe in 2016. Maybe it'd be different than what my message is now.
Right.
So I think that's an
It
interesting
almost
take
certainly
on it.
would be. Different
Yeah.
season.
I like that. I feel like we're like almost like paying homage.
Right.
Like, pour one out.
Right.
Hold for playing.
Pour one out for playing.
All right, well, I guess my last question is, when was the last time you did something for the first time?
This season of my life is the last time I can remember doing something for the first time. I've had a very heavy travel schedule that I really haven't experienced that volume of travel before, whether it's for business or pleasure or both. And it has been such a growing experience that I can't even fully encapsulate in words what
Yeah.
it's done for the transformation of my soul, of my mind, of my body, my life, because it's shown me so much.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about earlier today, you know, people say growth only happens outside your comfort zone, but it's not necessarily putting yourself in like painful discomfort. It's just about getting out and experiencing new things.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this season of my life has done for me. It's brought me so many new experiences. But individually, trying to be really wordy with that.
Individualistically.
If I had to single out a single experience, the last time I did something for the first time was surfboarding in Hawaii.
Ah,
That was dope.
that's cool.
That was-
I didn't know that was the first
dope.
time.
Yeah.
I saw that on your story, and I was just like, that's sick.
Yeah,
I
that
like
was
that.
awesome. I was like, literally, I'm out there paddling out towards the waves, and I'm like, I stopped for a moment. I'm just like, I'm doing surf lessons in Hawaii right now. This is
Yeah.
lit.
That's cool. How'd you do?
Oh, I did great. On a 12-foot board, killer. Give me an 8-foot soft top board. I'm not standing up yet.
Okay. Well, hey, just give me a boogie board, and that's all I need.
Hey, there we talking. That's what I'm talking about.
All right. Hey, awesome, Stacey. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's
brother.
been a pleasure shooting content with you all day.
Yeah, it's been
And
great.
can't wait for the next one. And I think we need to travel, and we need to do something for the first time together.
Facts.
That would neither of us have done.
Facts.
So if you're down, let's do it.
Let's make it happen, bro.
Cool. Cheers.
Cheers.